Hello, live stream audience. If you are watching, it's nice to have you with us. It is not quite 8 o'clock yet, which is when we're scheduled to start. If you know anything about the weather here in Schenectady, you can imagine that there are not many people here. In fact, at the moment, there are 3. We might start a little late. It's possible somebody called this off and I just haven't gotten the email yet. But stick with us and we'll see what happens. Hello, live stream audience. Due to the weather, we are probably going to start a few minutes late, but we are here. We are going to do this. If you are able to come down, our parking lot has been plowed out, so there is a place to park here. We'd be happy to see people here, but if you're welcome, live stream works best for you, then stay on the live stream. Don't expect us to begin right at 8, but I hope it won't be too many more minutes before we're underway.
Yeah, it's quite this interesting storm.
Yeah, just there's a lot of some people on the wind didn't go that high.
No, because there would have been many more power outages. Hey guys, what games should we be bringing to LSU?
The Cardinals and Judy are still in the same.
What games should we bring to LSU? We can bring two friends too. Because I don't know. Yeah, but harmful. How did you guys study it?
Hey girls, did you grab a Gillis? I got
Yeah,
some.
I
I got some.
Oh, you thought I just saw you pull in and she was shot from there. Sorry, I thought we did. Yeah, I think we would have a chocolate. She's in small. Yeah. You want to do a run through with me, Reed? Oh,
Nice, Tom.
oh, hey.
Oh my goodness. Are you Maui?
Well, I'm
Did you guys all dress up as the people from Moana for like for Halloween? It just seems like everyone's oh, you got it for him?
cool. That's great. Yeah.
Look at all these tattoos. You got
Hi, decided not to do, trans or something.
She's weird, Lily. Do you remember from the work He really liked Right? Who wants to? The weird Barbie. Oh. The weird Barbie.
What were you saying about the weather getting better?
I think that was you.
What?
But I think that was you.
No. I said it was.
The middle one is the one for tomorrow.
Okay. What? I moved this. This is tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Nice. I had this oh my god, what about tomorrow's tour at 10 I checked. Yeah. Shavua Tov and Simchat Purim. Let's start. We'll start with Mariv, which can be found in the Sidur Lev Shalem, our regular Shabbat Sidur that's in the seats. You can find that on page 264. Page 264. V'hurach michaper avon v'lo yashchit. Please rise. Meir bala shiva po v'lo yer kol chama. To Adonai Hoshea machneinu yom koreinu. Baruchu et Adonai amorach. Baruch Adonai amorach leolam va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai Adonai melech haolam asher b'dvaro mar yivarvim b'chachma padeach sharim v'nam meshalim. Umavir yom umevi laila mavdil ben yom ben laila Adonai tzvot shemo el chai v'kayam tamidim loch aleinu leolam va'ed baruch atah Adonai mariv aravim avat olam beit Yisrael chahav ve'avatecha tasir mimenu leolamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavecha V'chol nafshecha V'chol meodecha Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al Veshinanda hamlevanecha v'nimhar tabam Veshivtecha v'veitecha v'lektecha v'derech Uveshachbecha v'kumecha Ukshartam leota yadecha V'ayu letotafot beninecha Uchtavtam Hamezuzot beitecha Uvisharecha V'haya Im Shama Dishmo This art Ani Adonai Elohechem Emet. Adonai Elohechem Emet. B'melach Zovei Amlani. Malchuto baratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe Miriam u'bnei Yisrael achanu shira simcha rabba ve'amru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lot osei fele malchutcha ra'u v'necha b'kayam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam bo'ed v'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov u'ge'alo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ushmor tzeitenu v'oinu l'chaim l'shalom me'ata v'yad olam baruch atah Adonai shomer mo Yisrael lad. Chatzi Kaddish, page 269, followed by the individual whispered Amidah for Mariv, remembering to add in Atah Chonintanu on page 272 and Al Hanisim for Purim on page 431. Well, the Al Hanisim is on page 431. You should add it when you get to the Modim paragraph of the Amidah, which is not on page 431. All right. Yikadav yikadav shmei rabba ve'amad yivach yutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chai chodim v'chodim b'chai l'chol beit Yisrael b'agalai zon karivim ramein yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam me'omaya yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yishma min ha'sei v'yidar v'yidalai v'yidalal shmei negusha b'richu le'ila min chober chadav v'shirata tushbotav nechmata tamiran be'amav imru amein. Yigdal v'yigdal shmei rabba. Ve'amad yivach yutei v'mlichmach yutei v'chai echad v'mechon v'chai d'chol b'Yisrael bagalav v'zman karivim ramein. Yei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam me'almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yishmam v'yinasei v'yidadai v'yitalav v'yidalav shmei g'risha b'richu. Le'elam yikol b'rechadav v'shiradat yush b'chadav nechmata damran b'amavim ramein. Tidgal ba'al tzal d'arvanot n'chol Yisrael kadam avon v'yishmaya v'im ramein. Hey, Shlamar Rabbamin Shmaya v'chaylin v'kol Yisrael v'im ramein. Oseh shalom ramav v'yaseh shalom olin v'kol Yisrael v'im ramein. Continue now with the reading of the Megillah. You may be seated. Well, actually, we're going to stand for the blessings which precede the reading of the Megillah. Do we have some gabais for this?
Opie, Dan Mayer. Opie, can you go by?
There are some Megillah books in the back. I looked through every closet in the office, and those were all I could find. I don't know where the rest of them are.
Okay.
There are also the ones that are Chameshet HaMegillot. The five, those ones also have Megillah. But there might be enough in the box. So.
Yes. But I'd rather be spectator.
We'll begin in just a moment.
Do I start? Do I go? Should I start?
One sec.
Okay. I'm good with that.
All right.
Go for it.
Please rise for the blessings which precede the Megillah reading.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotanu v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen. You may be seated. The first chapter.
Vayhi b'mei Achashverosh, hu Achashverosh, hamalech meo duviad kush, sheva, v'esru mea medina, bayamim hahem keshevet, hamelech Achashverosh, al kisei malchuto, asher b'shushan abira, bishnat shalosh l'malcho, asa mishteh, lochol sarav ve'avadav, Chel paras umadai hapartemim v'sarei hamedinot lefanav v'haroto osher kavod malchuto ve'yikar tifer gedulato yamim rabim shmonim u'me'at yom uvim lo hayamim ha'ele asa hamelech l'chol ha'am hanimtzayim b'shushan abira l'migadol v'yad katan mishteh shivat yamim b'chatzar gina pitan hamelech chor karpas u'techelet achuz b'chavlei vutz v'argaman aglilei chasef yamudei sheish mitot zahav v'chasef al ritzva b'hapashesh v'dar v'sacharet v'ashkot b'chlei zahav v'chelim mikelim shonim v'ein malchut rav kiyad hamelech v'ashiachadai eino nes ki chen yisad hamelech al kol rav beito, la'asot kirton ish va'ish, gam vashti amalka, ashta nishte nashim, beit hamalchut, asher lamelch Achashverosh, bayom hashvi'i, ketov lev hamelech bayayin, amar limhuman, biztach arvona, bigtav yavagta, zeitar v'charkas, shiva tasar isim hamishartim, epnei hamelch Achashverosh, lahavi, evashti amalka, lifnei hamelech b'cheter malchut, laharod ha'amim ve'asarim et yofya, ki tova marehi, vatemahen hamalka vashti, lavo bidvar hamelech asher biyad hasarisim, like tov hamelech meod, v'chamato ba'aravo, vayomer hamelech, v'chachamim yodei hayitin, ki chen divar hamelech, lifnei kol yodei dat vadin, v'karov elav. Karshana shetar adma ta tarshish, meras parsanam imuchan, shivat sarei parasumadai, roe pnei hamelech, hayushrim rishona b'malchut, kedam al-asot, b'malka vashti, al-ash, Lo asata et mamar hamelech Achashverosh biad hasarisim vayomer memuchan lifnei hamelech v'asarim lo al hamelech levado avita vashti amalka ki al kol asarim ve'al kol ana ha'amim asher bechol medino hamelech Achashverosh ki tzei davar hamalchuka al kol anashim lavzo balehen beinehen Be'amram hamelech Achashverosh amar lahavi evashti amalka lefanav velo va'ah v'hayom hazeh tomar na sarot parasumadai asher shamu et dvar hamalka v'chol sarei hamelech uchdai bizayon v'katzef Imal hamelech tov, yitzei devar malchut milfanav, vayikatev, bidate parasumadai, velo ya'avor, asher lo tavo, vashti, lifnei hamelech Achashverosh, umalchuta yitain hamelech, lirta hatova mimena, v'nishma pitgam hamelech asher ya'aseh, Bechol malchuto ki rabahi bechol hanashim yitnu yikar levalehen lemigadol v'ad katan vayitav hadavar be'enei hamelech v'asarim vaya'as hamelech ki dvar memuchan vayishlach sefarim el kol minod hamelech al medina kichtavo ve'al am va'am kilshono leo kol ish sorer beito umedaber kilshonamo.
Yashkoach to Eli for starting us off and reading chapter 1 of the Megillah. And we turn now to chapter 2, which Joe is reading.
Ahad vadorim ha'ele keshosh Hamat belech v'Achashverosh zachet v'ashti v'et asher asata v'yeshad alecha v'yamrun Na'ari ha'melech mishrata v'yikshru lemelech na'arot b'tulot tovat mareh v'yifkod ha'melech b'kidim b'kol mirat malchuto v'yirtzu et kol na'ara בתולה טובה מראה אל שושן הבירה אל בית הנשים אל יד הגז אריס המלך שומר הנשים ונתן תמרקיהן ונערה אשר תיטע בעיני המלך תמלוק תחת ושתי ויטב הדבר בעיני המלך וישכן
איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שימי בן קיש איש ימיני
איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמי בן קיש איש ימיני אשר הוגלה בירושלים, עם הגולה שגלתה, עם יוחנה מלך יהודה, אשר הגלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל. ויאמן את חדשה כי אסתר בת דודו כי אין לה אב ואם והנער יפת תואר וטובת מראה ובמות אביך ואמה לקחך מרדכי לא לבד ויהי בשבע דבר המלך ודעתו וקבץ נערות רבות אל שושן הבירה אל יד הגיא ותלחק אסתר את בית המלך אל יד הגיא שמן אנשים ותטב הנערה בעיניו ותשרה חסד לפניו ויבחר ותאמרכך ואת מנותך לתת לה ואת שבע הנערות הרויות לתת לה מבית המלך וישנך את נערותיך לטוב בית הנשים לא הגידה אסתר את עמה ואת מולדתה כי מרדכי ציווה עליך אשר לא תגיד בכל יום ויום מרדכי מחלק לפניו חצר בית הנשים לדעת את שלום אסתר ומה יעשה בה והוא הגיעתו נערה ונערה לבוא אל המלך אחשוורוש מקץ חיות לה כדת הנשים 12 חודש כי כן ימלאו ימי מרדכי 6 חודשים בשמן חמור ו6 חודשים בשמים ובתורכי הנשים ובזה הנערה באה אל המלך את כל אשר תאמר יינתן לה לעבוד עמה מבית הנשים על בית המלך ברביע ובבוקר היא שבה אל בית הנשים שני אל יד שעסקה שרית המלך שומר הפגלשים לא תבוא עוד אל המלך כי אם חפץ בה המלך ונקרא בשם ובהגיעה תור אסתר בת אביחיל דת מרדכי אשר לקח לו לבד לבוא אל המלך לא ביקש דבר כי אם את אשר יאמר חגי שרית המלך שומר הנשים ותחי אסתר נושאת חן בעיני כל רואיך ולתח אסתר אל המלך אחשוורוש אל בית המלכותו בחודש העשירי חודש טבת בשנת שבט למלכותו ויחף המלך את אסתר מכל הנשים ותישא חן וחסד לפניו בכל הבתולות וישם כתר מלכות בראשה וימלכך תחת ושתי ויעשה מלך משתה גדול לכל שריו ועבדיו את משתה אסתר וחנכה למנינות עשה וייתן משת כיד המלך ויחץ בתולות שנית ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך אין אסתר מגדת מולדתה ואת עמה כאשר ציווה עליך מרדכי ואת מאמר מרדכי אסתר עושה כאשר הייתה באומנה איתו בימים ההם ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך קצה ביתה ותרש שני שרשי המלך משומרי הסף ויבקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש וידח הדבר למרדכי ויגד לאסתר המלכה ותאמר אסתר למלך בשם מרדכי ויבוקש הדבר וימצא ויתעלו שניכם על עץ וייכתב בספר דברי הימים לפני המלך.
Shkoyach. The third chapter of the Megillah begins with Rina.
There you go. Bring a friend. It's always
Thank
good to have
you.
a friend.
Yes.
There we go.
Did I just listen before I started?
Anytime you're ready.
אחר הדברים האלה גידל Hamelech Achashverosh et Haman. Ben Hamdata Hagagi Vayinasehu Vayasem et Kiso Me'al Kol Asharim Asher Ito Kol Avdei Hamelech Asher Bishar Hamelech Korim Umishachavim LeHaman Ki Chains Tziva Lo Hamelech Umordechai Lo Yichra Ve'lo Yishtachaveh Vayomru Avdei Hamelech Asher Bishar Hamelech Lemordechai Madua Atahu Atove Eit Mitzvat Hamelech. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, sure, go.
Shkach. Vayehi. Kelmra melav yom vayom. V'lo shama aleihem vayagidu le'amam. Lirot hayamdu divrei Mordechai ki gid lahem asher hu Yehudi vayar Haman. Ki ein Mordechai koreyo mishtachavelo vayim alei Haman. Chema vayimeiz beinav v'yishloach yad Mordechai levado ki yigidu lo et am Mordechai vayivakei Haman. Le'ashmid et kol Yehudim asher b'chol malchut Achashverosh am Mordechai b'chodesh harishon hu chodesh Nisan b'shnat 12 lamelech Achashverosh hipil pur hu hagora lifnei Haman miyom liyom u'mechodesh lechodesh 12 u'chodesh Adar vayomer Haman Lamelech Achashverosh yeshno am echad mefuzar mefarad bein hamim becho minino malchudecha v'dateihem shonot mikolam v'tatei hamelech einam osim v'hamelech ein shovel anicham im al hamelech tov yikatev le'abdam v'aseret alafim kikar kesef eshko al yedei osei hamlacha lehavi al ginzei hamelech Vayasar Hamelech et tabato me'al yado vayina leHaman Ben Hamdata Hagagi Tzorer Hayudim Vayomer Hamelech leHaman HaKesef natun lach v'ham lasot bo katov beinecha Vayikaru Sofrei Hamelech b'chodesh harishon b'shosar sar yom bo vayikatev kecho asher tziva Haman El achashtar pnei Hamelech ve'el hapachod asher amnina ve'el sarei amam amnina kiktava ve'amvam kilshono v'shem Hamelech Achashverosh nichtav v'nechtam b'tabat Hamelech. Sophie. There.
Finish.
All right, really loud.
Finish lo hasifarim biyad haratzim El kol madinat hamelech na'ashmiyid
להרוג ולבט את כל היהודים ונראה בעסקיין טוב ונשים ביום אחד ב13 לחודש 12 חודש אדר ושלום לבאות עד שכן הגתה להינת הדש בכל מדינה ומדינה גלי לכל העמים לאות עתידם לעם הזה הרצים יעזו דפים בדבר המלך והדש נינה בשושה ועברה והמלך והמן ישבו לשתות Va'ar Shusha
Navocha. Shkach. All right, so Judy Ben-Ami was planning to read the chapter 4, and she contacted me right before Shabbat, and she has a terrible virus. So I'll be covering hers, and we, of course, wish her a speedy recovery. And if you're watching, I hope you're feeling better. ומרדכי ידע את כל אשר נעשה ויקרא מרדכי את בגדיו וילבשק ויפר ויצא בתוך העיר ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה ויבוא עד לפני שער המלך כי אין לבוא אל שער המלך בלבוש זק ובכל מדינה ומדינה מקום אשר דבר המלך ודתו מגיע אבל גדול היהודים בצום ובכי ומספן צעק ואפר יוצא לרבים ותבוא נערות אסתר ושר ישראל ויגידו לה ותתחלחל המלכה מאוד ותשלח בגדים להלביש את מרדכי ולהסיר שקו מעליו ולא קיבל ותקרא אסתר להתך מסריסי המלך אשר העמיד לפניה ותצווהו על מרדכי לדעת מה זה ועל מה זה ויצא התך אל מרדכי אל רחוב העיר אשר לפני שער המלך ויגד לו מרדכי את כל אשר קראו ואת פרשת הכסף אשר אמר המן לשקול על גנזי המלך ביהודים לעבדם ואת פת שגן כתב הדעת אשר נתן בשושן להשמידם נתן לו להראות את אסתר ולהגיד לה ולצוות עליה לבוא אל המלך להתחנן לו ולבקש מלפניו על המה ויבוא התך ויגד לאסתר את דברי מרדכי ותאמר אסתר להתך ותצווהו אל מרדכי כל עבדי המלך והמנינות המלך יודעים אשר כל איש ואישה אשר יבוא אל המלך אל החצר הפנימית אשר לא יקרא החטאתו להעמיד לבד מאשר יושיט לו המלך את שרביט הזהב וחיה ואני לא נקראתי לבוא אל המלך זה 30 יום ויגידו למרדכי את דברי אסתר ויאמר מרדכי להשיב אל אסתר אל תדמי בנפשך להימלט בית המלך מכל היהודים כי אם אחרי אשתחרישי בעת הזאת רווח והצלה יעמוד ליהודים ממקום אחר ועד בית אביך תאבדו ומי יודע אם לעת כזאת הגעת למלכות ותאמר אסתר להשיב אל מרדכי לך כנוס את כל היהודים הנמצאים בשושן וצומו עלי ואל תאכלו ואל תשתו 3 ימים לילה ויום גם אני ונערותי עצום כן ובכן אבוא אל המלך אשר לא חדד וכאשר עבדתי ויעבור מרדכי ויעש ככל אשר ציוותה עליו Esther. I invite Daniel Korovar up to start us up on chapter 5.
here somewhere. Bayom HaShlishi, and Shlishi is the easiest part to find. And I found it yesterday. Bayom HaShlishi right there. You may need to hold that, but I can hold this one.
Vayhi bayom hashlishi, v'tilbash Esther malchut v'tamod, v'tzar v'et hamelech v'pinimit, noha v'et hamelech v'hamelech, noshev al kisei malchuto v'veit hamalchut, noha petach habayit vayahi, kirot hamelech et Esther malcha, umelet batzer nasahein v'enav, Hayoshet HaMelech Lester, Sharvit HaZahav Asher Yado, Hatigrav Esther, Hatigav, Virosh HaSharvit, Hayomer Lach HaMelech, Malach Esther Malcha, Makashatek, Aletzia Malchut, Vinaten Lach, Vatomer Esther, Imam Melech Tov, Yavo HaMelech Haman, Hayom, Elamishte Asher Asiti Lo, Vayomer HaMelech Maru et Haman Lasot et Devar Esther Vayavo HaMelech v'Haman Amishte Asher Ese Esther Vayomer HaMelech Esther Amishte Hayayin Mashlate Natin Lach Lakashate Kelasia Malchut V'Taas V'tan Esther V'Tomar Shalati V'Kashati Yimatzarti Hein V'nei HaMelech V'imo Melech Tov V'Tetet Shalati V'Asot Et V'Kashati Yavo V'Melech Haman Elamishte Asher Ese Lahem U'Ahar Ese Kidvar HaMelech
Perry. Shkoch. Daniel, shkoch.
Say Haman Bayom.
So, right, do I just go? Vayitei Haman vayom hahu. Vayom hahu sameach v'tov le v'hiro Haman. Et Mordechai b'shar hamelech v'yokat v'yozam mimenu v'yimalei Haman. Et Mordechai hema v'yidapei Haman. Wait, where am I? I'm lost. Vayavo el beito vayishaper
Vayavet Olav.
vayishla vayavo et olav et zeresh ishto vayishaper lahem Haman. Et kavod ashro v'rov anaviet et kavod el ashro. El asher kilo hamelech vi asher niso el sarim vavdei hamelech.
Shkoch. Yes, Mira. Shkoch.
Good Bayomer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, okay, right here. Vayomer Haman. Af lo hevia Esther Hamalcha imel Melech el chamishte asher asata ki imoti v'gam lamachar ani krula im hamelech v'chol zeh einenu shoveh eli v'chol asher ani ru'et Mordechai hayodit yoshev v'shar hamelech v'tomer lo Seresh ishto v'chol avar יעשו ועץ גבוה 50 אמה, ובבוקר אמור למלך, יתלו את מרדכי עליו, וביום המלך החמישי שמח וחטא הדבר לפני המן. ויעש העץ.
Shkoyach. Steve is going to read the 6th chapter.
Chapter 6. Hold that if you would. Balaylahu no dedashna tamelech v'yomer lehavi et sefer hazichronot divrei hayamim vayu nikraim livnei hamelech. V'yimatzeh chatuv asher higid Mordechai al bigtana v'teresh shnei sarisei hamelech meshomrei hasaf asher bikshu lishloach yad b'melech achashverosh. Vayomer hamelech mana asa yikar gdula lemordechai al zeh. Vayomru nare hamelech mishartav lo naathe imo davar. Vayomer hamelech mi bachatzer vehamah. Lachatzer beit hamelech achitzona lemor lamelech lidlot et Mordechai al ha'etz asher hechin lo. Vayomru na'arei hamelech elav hine Haman omed b'chatzer vayomer hamelech yavo. Vayavo Haman. Vayomer lo hamelech mala asot ba'ish asher hamelech hafez bikaro. Vayomer Haman Libo lemi yakot hamelech la'asot yakar yoter mimeni. Vayomer Haman el hamelech ish asher hamelech hafez bikaro yaviu lavush malchut asher lavashbo hamelech vesus asher achav alav hamelech va'asher nitan keter malchut berosho venaton halavush vehasus al yadish misarei hamelech apartimim vehil bishu et ha'ish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro vehir kivuhu al hasus birchov ha'ir vekaruhu lefanav kacha ye'aseh la'ish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro. Vayomer hamelech lehaman Maher kaket halavush ve'et hasus kasher dibarta va'asachein lemordechai hayehudi hayoshev b'shar hamelech al tapel davar mikol asher dibarta vayikach Haman et halavush et hasus vayalbesh et Mordechai vayarkivehu birchov ha'ir vayikra lefanav kacha ye'aseh la'ish asher hamelech hafetz bikaro. Vayasha Mordechai el sha'ar hamelech vehaman yitzchak El Beito Avel Vachafui Rosh Vaisaper Haman Lezeresh Ishto Ulecho Havav Et Kol Asher Karahu Vayomru Lo Chachama Vezeresh Ishto Im Mizera HaYehudi Mordechai Asher Hachilot Alin Fo Lefanav Lo Tuchalo Ki Nafol Tipol Lefanav Odam Medabrihim Imo Vesari Se Hamelech Higihu Vayav Hilu Lehavi Et Haman El Hamishte Ashar Esta Esther.
Yashikach. Chapter 7.
There you can get in the correct position. All right. Hey, how are you? Right there. Right there.
Ready now? Vayavo HaMelech v'Haman Lishtot im Esther HaMalka Vayomer HaMelech le'Esther Kam Vayom HaSheni b'Mishteh HaYayin Ma shelatech Esther HaMalka V'tinaten lach ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות ותעש ותען אסתר המלכה ותאמר אם מצאתי חן בעיניך המלך ואם על המלך טוב תינתן לי נפשי בשאלתי ועמי בקשתי כי נמכרנו אני ועמי להשמיד להרוג ולאבד ואילו לעבדים ולשפחות נמכרנו, החרשתי כי אין חצר שווה בנזק המלך. ויאמר המלך אחשוורוש, ויאמר לאסתר המלכה, מי הוא זה ואיזה הוא אשר מלאו ליבו לעשות כן, ותאמר אסתר, איש זר ואויב המן הרע הזה והמן ניבט מלפני המלך והמלכה והמלך קם בחמתו במשתה היין אל גינת הביתן והמן עמד לבקש על נפשו מאסתר המלכה כי ראה כי חלתה אליו הרעה מאת המלך והמלך שב מגינת הביתן אל בית משתה היין והמן נפל על המיטה אשר אסתר עליה ויאמר המלך גם לכבוש את המלכה עמי בבית הדבר יצא מפי המלך ופני המן חרבו ויאמר חרבונה אחד מן הסריסים לפני המלך גם הנה העץ אשר עשה המן ומרדכי אשר דיבר טוב על המלך עמד בבית המן 50 אמה ויאמר המלך תלו עליו ויתלו את המן על העץ אשר הכין למרדכי בחמת המלך שכח.
Ari is going to read chapter 8. I forgot to mention when Daniel came up that his birthday's tomorrow. We wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you. Bayom hahu
Natan Hamelech Hashrosh Lester Hamalka et Beit Haman. Sorero Yudim Umordechai Balifnei Hamelech Ki Daster Maola Vayasar Hamelech et Tabato Asher Hivir Mehaman. Vainala Mordechai Vata Semester and Mordechai El Beit Haman. Vatosef Esther Vitalaber Lifnei Hamelech Vadipol Lifnei Raglav Vatef Vatichanen Lo Lavir et Ra Haman. Hagagi Vat Machashavto Asher Chashav Ayudim Vayoshet Hamelech Lester Esh Arvita Zahav Vata Kamaster Vatamod Lifnei Hamelech Vatomer Imel Melech Tov Imatzati Chen lefanav Asher Davar Lifnei Hamelech V'tovani Beinav Yigatev Lashvarim Machashevet Haman. Ben Lemordechai Al Zev V'amru Narai Hamelech Mishartav Lo Nasa Imo Devar. Oh, sorry, that makes sense. Yeah. Bain Hamdat Hagi Asher Katav Labed Echai Yudim Asher Bechol Medinot Hamelech Ki Echa Veraiti Verashem Sadami Echa Veraiti Vavdan Moladeti Vayomer Hamelech Hashrosh Lester Hamalka Lemordechai Hayudi Hine Beit Haman. Natati Lester Vitotalu Elais Al Asher Ishlach Yado Bayudim Vatem Kivu Ayudim Kato Benehem B'Shem Hamelech V'chitmu Badabat Hamelech Ki Chetav Asher Niktav B'Shem Hamelech V'naktom Batabat Hamelech Ein La'ashiv V'ikaru Sofrei Hamelech V'dahi V'chodesh Hashlishi Hu Chodesh Sivan B'shoslav Esrimbo V'ikatev Chodesh Siva Mordechai El Yudim V'achashtar Panim V'apachot V'zarei Hamaninot Asher Meodu V'yakush Sheva V'esrim U'meyam Medina Kiktava V'am Kil Shono V'el Hayudim Kiktavam V'chil Shonam Vayiktov B'Shem HaMelech Hashrosh Vayaktom Batabat HaMelech Vayishlach Sefarim V'yad Haratzim Basusim Rochvei Harechesh HaChashranim B'nei Haramachim Asher Natan HaMelech Layudim Asher B'chol Va'ir Liakel Molan Hasham Lashmid Larog Labed Ekol Chelam Umnina Hatarim Otam Tafanasim Ushalam Lavos B'yom Echad B'chol Meninot Hamelech Hashverosh B'Shoshasar Lechodesh Neasar Hu Chodesh Adar Pashegan Haktav Linaten Da B'chol Menina Galoi Lechol Amim Liot Hayudim Aditim Leyom Hazeh Linakem Oivehem Haratzim Rochvei Harechesh HaChashranim Yatsu Novolim Otchofim Bidvar HaMelech V'adanina B'Shushana Bira
ומרדכי יצא מלפני המלך בלבוש מלכות תכלת וחור ועטרת זהב גדולה ותחריכלות וארגמן והעיר שושן צהלה ושמחה.
ומרדכי יצא מלפני המלך בלבוש מלכות תכלת וחור ועטרת זהב גדולה ותחריכלות וארגמן והעיר שושן צהלה ושמחה.
ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון ויקר.
ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון ויקר. ובכל מדינה ובכל עיר ועיר מקום אשר דבר המלך ודתו מגיע שמחה וששון ליהודים משתה ויום טוב רבים מימי הארץ מתיידים כי נפל פחד היהודים עליהם.
שכח. I'm going to read chapter 9 the 9th chapter of the Megillah feels different this year than it has for me in previous years. It's always kind of a scary chapter when we really think about it. But I've always sort of thought about it kind of as having a humorous intent. But this year, the idea that the Jewish people would find 75,000 enemies of the Jewish people and kill them in self-defense doesn't feel as implausible. I just want to say that we should take this seriously, like both the way that the Megillah records it, which we can say probably never happened, and is supposed to be hyperbolic and has it's a satire and it's supposed to feel like a satire, so we should understand it like that. And also the ways in which the Megillah is very clear, even in its satire, that the Jewish people, even in the satire version, okay, of the Megillah, the Jewish people are given the permission to kill their enemies and take their stuff. And the Megillah says they killed their enemies in self-defense and did not touch their stuff. So even in the satire, the authors of the Megillah couldn't imagine the Jewish people pillaging their neighbors. And it does seem very clear that it's self-defense. These are enemies of the Jewish people who are on this day rising up because Haman gave them permission to, and because a decree that is issued under Persian law can't ever be undecreed. So the decree of attacking the Jews is still there. What remains is an additional decree that the Jewish people are allowed to defend themselves. It's kind of horrifying to imagine that before that decree went out, the Jewish people would not be allowed to defend themselves. And I think that is sort of another aspect of the terror of this chapter. There are some communities who are reading the entire chapter in Echatrop this year. There are communities who are reading it in Hebrew in regular Megillah trope, and then in English in Echatrop. I think we're not going to do either of those things, but I do think that it's important to pause before we start and say that this year, chapter 9 feels different. And if you'd like to come and talk to me about it, not on Purim, I really would be happy to open that conversation. There's what to be said about the dangers of Jewish power and about what it means to be living in a time where over and over and over in the newspapers we hear about the tens of thousands of innocent people that the Jewish people have killed in the last 5 months, saying what it says in the newspapers. And I think, we sort of have to acknowledge, if you're going to kill, Vaizatah, the 10th son of Haman, right? Like, how old was he? What did he know about Haman's actions? And what does it mean that that's part of this? And I'm going to read that part in one breath because we kind of don't want to look at it. The command that we received in the Haftarah this morning of killing Amalekite babies, that's a thing that we don't think a good God or our God should command annihilation of babies. And so I think we're stuck with a real issue that we have to look at sometimes with some degree of seriousness, even on Purim. Chapter 9. Now I lost my place. ובשנים עשר חודש הוא חודש אדר, ב13 יום בו אשר הגיע דבר המלך ודתו להיעשות ביום אשר סיברו אויבי היהודים לשלוט בהם ונהפוכו אשר ישלטו היהודים המה בשונאיהם נקהלו היהודים בעריהם בכל מדינות המלך אחשוורוש לשלוח יד במבקשי רעתם ואיש לא עמד לפניהם ינפל פקדם על כל העמים וכל זרי המדינות ואחשת בנים והברכות ועושי המלאכה אשר למלך מנסים את היהודים ינפל מרד מרדכי עליהם כי גדול מרדכי בבית המלך ושמו הולך בכל מדינות כי האיש מרדכי הולך וגדול ויכו היהודים בכל אויביהם מכת חרב והרג ואבדן ויעשו בשונאיהם כרצונם ובשושן הבירה הרגו היהודים ועבד 500 איש ויהי פרשנדה ואת גלפון ואת אספדה ואת פורדה ואת דליה ואת ארידתה ואת פרמשתה ואת אריסי ואת אריתי ואת ויזתה עשרת בני המן בן עמדת הצורר היהודים הרגו ובביזה לא שלחו את ידם ביום ההוא במספר הרוגים בשושן הבירה לפני המלך ויאמר המלך לאסתר המלכה בשושן הבירה הרגו היהודים ועבד 500 איש ואת 10 בני המן בישר מדינות המלך מעשו מה שאלתך וינתן לך ומה בקשתך עוד ותעש ותאמר אסתר אם על המלך טוב יינתן גם מחר ליהודים אשר בשושן לעשות כדת היום ואת 10 בני המן ידלו על העץ ויאמר המלך לעשות כן ותינתן דת בשושן ואת 10 בני המן תעלו, ויקהלו היהודים אשר בשושן גם ביום 14 לחודש אדר ויהרגו בשושן 300 איש ובביזה לא שלחו את ידם ושאר היהודים אשר במדינות המלך אחשוורוש נקהלו ועמוד על נפשם ונוח מאויביהם והרוג בשונאיהם 75,000 ובביזה לא שלחו את ידם ביום 13 לחודש אדר ונוח ב14 בו ועשו אותו יום משתה ושמחה והיהודים אשר בשושן נקהלו ב13 בו וב14 בו ונוח ב15 בו ועשו אותו יום משתה ושמחה כן היהודים הפרזים היושבים בערי הפרזות עושים את יום 14 לחודש אדר שמחה ומשתה ביום טוב ומשלוח מנות איש לרעהו ויכתוב מרדכי את הדברים האלה וישלח ספרים אל כל היהודים אשר בכל מדינות המלך אחשוורוש הקרובים והרחוקים לקיים עליהם להיות עושים את יום 14 לחודש אדר ואת יום 15 בו בכל שנה ושנה קיימים אשר נחו בהם היהודים מאויביהם והחודש אשר נהפך להם מיגון לשמחה ומאבל ליום טוב לעשות אותם ימי משתה ושמחה ומשלוח מנות איש לרעהו מתנות לאביונים וקיבל היהודים את אשר החלו לעשות ואת אשר כתב מרדכי עליהם כי המן בן עמדת הגגית צורר כל היהודים חשב על יהודים לעבדם והפיל פור הוא הגורל להומם ולעבדם ובבואה לפני המלך אמר אם הספר ישוב מה חשבתו הרע שחשב על יהודים על ראשו ותלו אותו ופניו על העץ על כן קראו לימים האלה פורים על שם הפור על כן על כל דברי האיגרת הזאת ומה ראו על ככה ומה הגיע עליהם קימו וקיבלו היהודים עליהם ועל זרם ועל כל הנלווים עליהם ולא יעבור להיות עושים את שני הימים האלה ככתבם וכזמנם בכל שנה ושנה והימים האלה נזכרים ונעשים בכל דור ודור משפחה ומשפחה מדינה ומדינה ועיר ועיר וימי הפורים האלה לא יעברו מתוך היהודים וזכרם לא יסוף מזרם Hativ Tov, Esther HaMalka, Bat Avichayu, Mordechai Yehudi, Et Kol Tokef Lekayim, Et Yigeret HaPurim Hazot HaShenit, Vayishlach Sefarim El Kol HaYudim. Al Sheva Vesru Meyamina, Malchut HaChashverosh, Divrei Shalom, Ve'emet Lekayim, Et Yimei HaPurim Ha'eleh, Bizmaneihem. Kasher Kiyam, Alayhem, Mordechai Yehudi, Vester HaMalka, V'chasher Kimu, Al Nafsham, V'Azaram, Divrei Atomot, V'Zakatam, Umamar Esther Kiyam, Divrei HaPurim Ha'eleh, V'nichtav B'Sefer.
Chuck.
All right, Colden.
It's right there. Listen.
Vayasem Hamelech Ahashverosh Mas Al Haaretz V'yeh Hayam V'chol Maseh Tofo Uvu Rato V'parsha Kilulat Mordechai Asher Gilo Hamelech Halochem Ketuvim Al Sefer Diver Hayamim L'malchei Madai Faras
Ki Mordechai Yehudi Mishka L'melech Achashverosh V'gadol HaYudim V'ratzui L'rov Echav Dorish Tov Le'amo V'dover Shalom L'chol Zaro.
Ki Mordechai Hayudi Mishnah Melech Achashverosh V'gadol HaYehudim V'ratzu V'rov Echad Doresh Tov Le'elamo V'dober Shalom L'chol Zaro.
Please rise.
Yeah. Baruch, wait. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam harav et rivenu v'hadam et dinenu v'hanokem et nichmatenu v'ham sholem gemul l'chol oivei nafshchenu v'hanif krat lanu mitzranu. Baruch atah Adonai Hanifra L'amo Yisrael Michol Tzaranu Ha'al HaMoshia.
Amen. Shkach. Okay. Shoshana Yaakov Tolav Tzaveicha Okay, we're going to continue in our in this Lev Shalem Sidur. You may be seated, page 279. And if there's a Havdalah set somewhere that could be found, that'd be great. Page 279. Vihino Amananai Aleinu Aleinu Kashim. Yoshem b'seter yom v'soshaday. Yikraini v'einei imonachi b'torah chatzeu v'achabdehu orechim masbihu v'areyu b'shuati orechim masbihu v'areyu b'shuati. Page 216. V'ata kadosh yoshev 216. Kadosh, 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 and I will heart. Vati Saini Ruach Veshma Charai Kol Rash Gadol Baruch Adonai Mimkamo. Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Moed. V'yivtechu v'chai yodei shemecha ki lo azav l'reshech Adonai, Adonai chafetz l'man tzidko yagdil Torah v'yadir. Page 280. Yikadav Yikadash Merabah. Ve'amad Yibach Yotei V'amlich Malchutei B'chai Echod V'mechon V'chai L'chol B'Yit Yisrael B'agalav V'zon Karivim Ramein. Yesh Merabah Mevarach Le'olam Me'amaya. Yibarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitshumam V'yinasei V'yidai 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 Shmei Kudusha B'richu. Le'ila Mikol Berkadav V'shirata Tushpadav Nechmata Damran Be'amavim Ramein. Tzidkal Ba'al Tzot Yehei Shlam Rav Min Shemai Yevachayim Le'neval Kol Yisrael V'Miramein. Oseh Shalom V'Rav Hu Yaseh Shalom Le'neval Kol Yisrael V'Miramein. Rise for Aleinu, page 281. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tein genula liyotzeh breshit shelo asanu kigoyei haratzon velo samanu kimishvechot adama shelo sam kalkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam anachnu korim Mishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shenu Teshmayim V'ne'emar v'yan el malchol kol haaretz B'yom ahu yirnei echad u'shmo echad Kaddish Avelim, Yitgadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'amad, Yivra, Kirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, Chayechon, V'yamechon, V'chayei, D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'izman Kariv, V'yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Mevarach, Le'alam, Alamei Almaya. Yiparach, V'yishtabach, V'yipar, V'yitromam, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei D'kudesha, Brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiran be'alma v'imru ameh. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru ameh. Oseh shalom v'mrama hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru ameh. Yasher koach to everybody who read Megillah tonight. That is to Ellie Moses, Joe Sheng, Rena Moses, Sophie Garmil, Daniel Korovar, Perry Levine, Mira Stashauer, Steve Schmidt, Howie Middleman, Ari Korovar, and Colden Shapiro. A huge Yasher Koach to all of you. Come back tomorrow morning, but stick around for the spiel, and then come back tomorrow morning for an opportunity to celebrate Purim. We're going to start Shacharit at 9:20, and we'll do the Torah reading for Purim, the special Torah reading for Purim, and everything up until about 10, and then we'll do the Megillah reading at 10, which we should do the Megillah reading at 10, which will include also a whole bunch of readers from the religious school, and all together between tonight and tomorrow, we're having more than 36 people read Megillah, which is really nice. 11:30. Yeah, right after Megillah reading. Have some nosh. Stick around. What? Nosh and spiel. I think that's nice.
Do you want the Megillah or do you want the case? What? Oh, we need a photograph. Photographer.
Give me that camera also.
Barbie.
Oh, okay. Okay, is this a digital camera? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're doing spiel here, right?
If you're joining us by live stream, the Purim Spiel will begin in maybe 2 minutes. We're letting everybody get a little cookie and a little something to drink, and then we'll get to the play. If you have a part, come to the bima. If you don't have a part, come to the seats. Since we do have presumably a live stream audience for that, make sure that when you are reading your lines, you are reasonably near to one of the two microphones, one of the three microphones. It doesn't cosmically matter which. We'll worry about how the camera pans at a later time. It'll be what it'll be.
It's gonna be like a big match.
Yeah, it's really more of a word thing than
Yeah, I'm coming over here.
All right. Who do I give Haman to?
Who's got Haman?
Who is Haman?
Okay, Steve, you are Haman until further notice, because I made him. All right. Hopefully I've handed out all the parts.
You don't have anything, I don't have anything to say. I mean, I have a lot to say, but not.
All right, who's got the narrator part?
All right.
Let it go here?
No, there's also this microphone also.
You ready? It happened in the days of King Ahasuerus, who ruled 127 provinces from Hodu to Kash. But his palace and the palace of Queen Vashti wasn't found in any of them. Their palaces were in a place called Vashti Land, where everything was pink and everything was perfect all the time. Until one day when a rift opened up in the time-space continuum between Vashti Land and the real Persian Empire, and the things began to change.
Here in the palace, I'm living my best day every day. Oh, I'm a Vashti girl in the Vashti world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. Hello, Surfer Vashti. Hello, Surgeon Vashti. Hello, Haggai. What are you doing here in my pink cul-de-sac?
I have a request for you from the king. He's making a feast for all his officials, and he wants you to come to the palace and dance for them.
How exciting! A dance at the palace. Let me get on my perfect pink dress and my pink dancing shoes. Oh, no!
What's wrong, Your Highness?
Look at my feet. They've gone flat feet.
You'll never be able to fit into your dancing shoes like this.
With my feet this way, I can barely even walk. I'd better go over to the palace and tell the king I can't dance for him.
He's not going to be like that.
I know. I can't think about how angry he'll be. In fact, I can't stop having these irrepressible thoughts of death.
With help from Haggai and some of the other Vashtis, Queen Vashti made her way over to the palace.
Queen Vashti, how wonderful to see you. But what happened to your feet?
I don't know. They've never been flat like this before. Something must have gone terribly wrong. With my feet like this, there's no way I can dance at the banquet tonight.
You're refusing to dance for my officials?
Yes, I refuse. I'm so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for a queen, then I don't even know. It is literally impossible to be a woman. It kills me that you never think I'm good enough.
Vashti, you're ranting again. Get control. Put this piece of Scotch tape over your mouth.
Thanks. It's like I have to always be extraordinary, but somehow I'm always doing it wrong. I have to be thin, but not too thin. I have to have money, but I can't ask for money because that's crass. I have to be a queen, but I can't be mean. I have to lead, but I can't squash other people's ideas. I have to answer for your advisor's bad behavior, which is insane. But if I point that out, I'm accused of complaining. I'm supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that I tempt them too much. So that's it. I'm done dancing just to show off for you and your men.
Your Majesty, this refusal is unacceptable. What will happen if all the Vashtis of Vashti world learn that the commands of the king need not be obeyed?
Thinking about this makes me so angry. I'm going to take out all my frustrations on this little Vashti doll.
You keep a little doll of Queen Vashti? That's different.
Give me the scissors. I'm going to cut off her hair. And that pen, I'm going to draw blue lines on her face.
But back at Queen Vashti's cul-de-sac, as the queen cut off the doll's hair, Queen Vashti changed. Her hair turned short. Blue lines came out on her face. Her limbs no longer bent the way they were designed to bend. In short, Queen Vashti became Weird Vashti. Down at the pink harem, the eunuchs planned Weird Vashti's overthrow.
I know we all supported Vashti when she became queen, but since her feet became flat and her hair got cut short, she's no longer fit to be our leader. Plus, I hear she's considering supporting a compromise with the Democrats on immigration reform, and we can't have any of that, can we?
But our majority in Congress is so thin. If we throw out the Queen, how will we be able to keep our caucus together?
That doesn't matter. Her refusal to dance before the king is a sign that she's become ideologically impure. Even if it's the most self-destructive thing we do in this entire skit, we must throw her out tonight in Congress. I will make a motion to vacate the throne so that we can get rid of Vashti and have new, more loyal leadership.
But how can we find someone to serve as queen?
Maybe we can ask Mike Johnson to do it.
Or maybe Marjorie Taylor Vashti.
No, there's no one in the Freedom Caucus who can replace Vashti. We'll have to look outside.
Your Majesty, let us hold a contest to find a new queen. We'll invite all the maidens in Shushan to compete, and whoever pleases the king shall become queen in place of Vashti.
Excellent plan. I'll inspect their feet very, very carefully.
Word about the plan to hold a contest to find a new queen got out, but the plans ran into some serious opposition.
Your Majesty, it's not going to be as easy to get Vashti off the throne as we thought.
What's the problem? Her rant was one of the biggest public relations disasters in history.
Unfortunately, the Harvard Corporation is standing behind her, and as long as she has their support, she can't be forced to resign.
I have the solution, Your Majesty. My slaves and I have been examining all the papers she's published while working in the palace. They're all plagiarized. She took some of the lines from some strange movie about some guy building a bomb, and more from an even stranger one about a plastic doll.
Excellent work, Karshana. When it becomes known that she's a plagiarist, she'll have no choice but to step down.
Queen Vashti tried to explain it at a press conference.
I stand by the integrity of my scholarship. Sure, there may have been a few instances of inadequate citation, but throughout my career, I have worked to ensure my scholarship adheres to the highest academic standards.
But, Your Majesty, the Shushan Free Beacon is listing 47 instances of plagiarism in the rant you delivered at the banquet. Plus, you're still refusing to dance for the king and his ministers.
I know he's trying to improve my work as a queen, but he's driving me harder than I want to be driven. So, it is with a heavy heart but a deep love for Shushan that I'll be stepping down as queen. My deep sense of connection to the palace and the eunuchs has made it all the more painful to witness the tensions and divisions that have riven our community, weakening the bonds of trust and reciprocity that should be our sources of strength and support in times of crisis.
The Harvard Corporation was forced to accept Vashti's resignation, and the contest to find a new queen got underway. One person who heard about the contest was a young girl named Esther. She went to talk to her uncle Mordecai, a physicist who'd recently been hired to work on a secret government project.
Uncle Mordecai, what's this new job you're working on?
It's a plan to build a new kind of gallows, bigger and more destructive than any has ever been built before. It uses critical core as an energy source, based on the research you did with nuclear physicist Vashti. Once criticality is reached, the energy from the chain reaction is going to make the raw material self-assemble into a 50-cubit high gallows.
I'd hate to be remembered for that.
Don't worry, you won't.
But aren't you worried about releasing so much energy that you ignite the atmosphere and fill the entire world with 50-cubic gallows?
I've got a team working the math on that. It seems very unlikely.
Are you sure this is a project that you should be working on? I thought you were a pacifist and a socialist.
I'm terribly worried about the uses to which this gallows might be put, but we have no choice. If the Amalekites develop a giant gallows first, the Jewish people could be destroyed in 3 shakes of a lamb's tail.
I'm surprised the palace was willing to hire a Jewish physicist to work on such a sensitive project.
They don't want to, but I'm a leading expert in nuclear physics. They need my knowledge.
Well, maybe I can help out. I'm thinking of entering the contest to become queen.
Are you eligible to become queen? As a plastic doll, I didn't think you had any genitals.
Don't worry about that. The inspection of the candidates is thorough, but not that thorough. The king won't find out until it's too late.
Then that's a wonderful idea. But the palace won't want a Jewish queen any more than they want a Jewish weapons designer. You better not let anyone know you're Jewish.
not let anyone know I'm Jewish, but how can I possibly do that? I'm not just any Jewish girl, I'm stereotypical Esther. Everyone will look at me and know right away that I'm Jewish.
You'll have to find ways to conceal your identity. For example, when you make a pastrami sandwich, use white bread and put mayonnaise on it. Don't ask for a can of Tab, no matter how much you want one. Let men publish your data. Whatever you do, don't say, Kanahora. Carry a generic handbag and admit that you paid retail for it.
That's going to be hard, but I'll do my best.
So every day, Esther practiced not being stereotypical and got ready to enter the contest to become queen. When she wasn't the only candidate, hundreds of girls from all over the kingdom were trying to find ways to put their names forward. Some of them had better connections and with press better than Esther had.
Good evening. I'm Marsena Memukan of the Persian News and Information Service. Tonight we're here with yet another candidate in the contest to replace Weird Vashti as queen. Our guest is Columbia East, the Edward W. Said Chair of Amalekite Studies at Harvard University. Dr. East, good evening. Tell us why you're running to become queen.
I am in this race on the behalf of all my beautiful Amalekite brothers and sisters to stand up and oppose the racist, genocidal, settler, colonistic, fascist, imperialistic, xenophobic, orientalist, Zionist system that keeps them in a state of oppression. Because I stand for justice, freedom, and love everywhere.
What's a Zionist?
The source of all evil. We get rid of them and all the world's problems will disappear overnight.
Isn't that what they say about the Jews?
No, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just...
Anti-Zionist!
Yeah.
Some people have criticized your candidacy on the grounds that by taking votes away from more conventional candidates, you'll just make it easier for Vashti to get reelected.
Wait!
How do you reply?
Wait. Vashti is trying to get back on the throne?
Yes, she announced it a few days ago. She says that if she doesn't win the election, there will be a bloodbath.
I thought we decided she was ineligible to run. Doesn't the 14th Amendment say that anyone who was engaged in a rant against the king is ineligible to run for queen? I thought the province of Hodu was taking her off the ballot.
Yes, but the Supreme Court ruled that since Congress hasn't passed legislation, there's no way to enforce the ban. So she'll be on the ballot in Hodu and all 127 provinces.
Columbia East continued her third-party bid, but it didn't matter. Esther won the contest and became the new queen of the kingdom.
Esther, what is your request? Even if it be half the kingdom, it shall be granted.
This is my first request. I want you to fire your vizier, Karshena.
Fire Karshena? What for?
He's the one that gave Vashti that piece of tape to put over her mouth.
You want me to fire him for that? I'll have track coaches that tie people to trucks, and I don't fire them.
You said my request would be granted.
Ahasuerus had to fire Karshena and had to find a new vizier as well as a new queen. Fortunately, he didn't need to hold a contest this time. Haman, no booze, nothing? Okay. Haman had done so well in previous posts as rat czar for the city of Shushan that he was the obvious choice to become the new vizier. But meanwhile, Weird Vashti had a warning for Esther.
What is it that you wanted to tell me?
Do you remember how I lost the job of queen?
You got flat feet and couldn't dance for the king. How did that happen?
There was a sad child playing with a doll of me in the real world. The sad child's thoughts reached me via a rift in the space-time continuum and started to degrade Vashti world. It could happen to you next if it isn't stopped.
What can I do about it?
Go see the king and get his permission to travel through the space-time continuum to the real world. Find this child and solve her problem. Only then will you be safe on the throne.
But I have not been summoned to see the king for 30 days.
What are you talking about? You live in Esther World now. Everyone else in Esther World is just an accessory for you. So stop it with this nonsense already and tell the king you're going to go visit the real world.
Esther approached the king. feeling empowered by weird Vashti, she didn't bother fasting, and she told the king just to keep the little golden scepter in his pants.
Your Majesty, I'm going to go through the space-time continuum to visit the real world. Somewhere in that world there's a sad child, and I'm going to cheer her up.
Sounds great. If you need me, I'll be down at the beach.
I don't think it's wise for you to go alone, Esther. I'll come along, just in case you need any help.
Sure.
Esther and Haman got into Esther's pink convertible and drove through the rift to find themselves in the real world.
So, what do we do now?
I guess you need to go find someone to cheer up. Meantime, I'm going to visit this library and see what interesting books I can find.
Excuse me, are you Queen Esther from Estherland?
Yes, that's me.
My daughter loves to play with your doll, but lately she's been playing with them very strangely.
Is she having irrepressible thoughts of death while she's playing?
Worse than that. The game she plays is called Palace Rebellion. She has these two dolls named Bigdan and Teresh, who she says are planning to overthrow the king.
Why would they do that?
They're alarmed that the king's decision to hold a beauty contest to select the new queen trivialized women by holding them to unrealistic standards for their bodies and their appearance. Vashti World was supposed to represent a world where women could take responsibility for their own lives, but now she sees that no matter what occupation Vashti has, she still has to be a plastic tramp in high heels.
Oh my goodness! Bigdan and Teresh must be plotting to overthrow the king, and their plans have leaked through the space-time continuum. I better find Haman and get back to the palace right away. Haman, where are you?
Right here, Esther. I found the most amazing book in the library to take back to the palace. Look, it's titled The Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Esther and Haman drove back to Esther World in the pink convertible. Haman went off to see the king while Esther visited her uncle Mordecai.
Esther, I have this great idea that I need your help with. We can create a world organization to take control of our nuclear gallows technology. It's the only way we can avoid a terrible arms race with the Amalekites. If these weapons proliferate, it could lead to the extermination of the human race.
You should go down to the palace and spread the word about forming this new organization. And while you are there, tell the eunuchs that Bigdan and Teresh are the heads of the rebellion that's forming against the king.
Oh, Mordecai got together with Leslie Groves, the eunuch in charge of security on the giant gallows project. Together they worked out a plan to have Bigdan and Teresh killed in a mysterious crash of an Embraer camel in the province of Belarus, solving the rebellion problem. Then Mordecai went down to the palace. When he got to the gate, he found that Haman had been making changes.
What's all this, Haman? Football tables, cigars, horses. Is that a picture of Queen Vashti without any clothes on? And what's that big red banner with the swastika on it?
Ever since I came back from the real world, I've been making improvements based on this book I've been reading. So welcome to the Mojo Dojo Casa Palace.
Where did you get the labor to build this thing?
Oh, just a bunch of UNRWA workers I got to know back when I was still working as Rat Czar. And now that we have them, we're not tolerating Jews in power anymore. In fact, Mr. Mordechaimer, you had better just bow down before me.
I will never bow down before you, Haman.
You won't bow down before me. I'll have my revenge on you for that. I'll take away your security clearance.
Haman went to see King Ahasuerus to arrange Mordecai's punishment for not bowing down before him.
Your Majesty, there is an alien and impure people in the kingdom that secretly controls the entire world economy. Just last month, they were behind the collapse of the Shushan Valley Bank. They are conspiring to create a worldwide organization and turn over our nuclear gallows technology to it. The kingdom's position of world domination through our monopoly of self-assembling gallows will be destroyed. It is not in the king's interest to tolerate them.
Here's my signet ring and 10,000 talents of silver. Do what you see fit without them.
Haman used the ring and silver to bribe Congress into holding a hearing on Mordecai's disloyalty. When Mordecai heard about these charges, he donned sackcloth and ashes and went to sit by the palace gate. While he was there, he saw something very disturbing. He called a meeting of the Shushan Synagogue Board to deal with it.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We have several problems to discuss.
We sure do. Did you hear about the lab accident? The bookkeeper exploded again.
Tell the custodian to clean up the mess after they finish getting the last of the hippos out and have the personnel committee send out our ad again.
Next on the agenda is the secret tunnel the Bachars have been digging between the synagogue and the women's mikvah.
What do they want a tunnel for anyway?
They haven't been able to give a good answer to that question, and they never got a permit from the town to build it. So now Haman is sending a cement truck to seal up the entrance.
Another problem, while I was down at the palace gate, I saw the most alarming thing. There was this billboard truck driving around in front of the palace. The board was titled, Shushan's Leading Anti-Semites. The first name listed was Haman, and it included his home address and phone number.
Yeah, we arranged for that. We thought it would be a good way to put pressure on Haman to back down from his anti-Semitic Mojo Dojo Casa Palace policies. That truck is getting incredible play on social media.
How do we pay for it?
Well, we had this one guy who wanted to make a very specific donation to the security fund.
But it makes us look like the bad guys doxing our enemies like that. And when we're up against the Amalekites and we come off as the bad guys, we're doing something wrong.
We've got to get rid of the doxing truck and find a better way to fight back against Haman. Hatak, can you take care of that? I've got to get down to the gallows test site.
Mordecai started preparing for the first test of the new self-assembling 50-cubit gallows. But that very night, the king's sleep was disturbed.
What's wrong, Your Majesty?
I'm having terrible dreams about these nuclear gallows. What happens if they fall into the wrong hands? I'll never be able to get back to sleep.
How about if we read to you from the kingdom's book of records?
That could put anyone to sleep.
Here's the record of Bigthan and Teresh dying in that unexplained camel crash, just as they were preparing the Wagner group to march on the palace to overthrow you.
Wasn't it Mordecai who arranged for their deaths in the Embraer crash? Did we ever reward him for that?
No, Your Majesty. Everyone figured it was just another Boeing quality control problem. Nothing has been done for him.
Well, we better do something for him. I've got to conduct another sham election in 6 months so I can remain king, and I'm going to need all the help I can get.
Here comes Haman. Maybe he can suggest something we can do.
Haman! What should be done for the man the king wants to honor?
He must want to honor me for creating the Mojo Dojo Casa Palace. Sublime! Bring a surfboard that the king has ridden and a headband and Bermuda shorts that the king has worn and give them to the man. Then place the man in the cab of an 18-wheel truck and drive him around the city with a sign on the truck that says, "This is what is to be done for the man that the king wishes to honor."
Excellent. Do all that you have said for Mordecai.
Mordecai? The Jew in charge of the giant gallows project?
Do it all for him. Do not omit a word.
Haman, because Mordecai gave him the surfboard and headband and shorts and drove the truck around Shushan. He even drove it out to the test site for the giant gallows. Unfortunately, the truck was too tall and it collided with the highway bridge at the entrance of the test site. Worse, the truck was carrying a truckload of liquid propane when it hit the bridge and exploded. Mordecai and Haman were unharmed, but the test of the nuclear gallows had to be delayed while it was rebuilt. Haman, dismayed by the king's decision to honor Mordecai, consulted with his advisors.
I can't believe the king is honoring Mordecai while I'm trying to strip him of his security clearance. Doesn't the king believe in me? Sometimes I think he's just treating me as an accessory. Doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number 2. That guy won't bow to me 'cause he's a Jew. No one knows how hard I tried. Oh, I have feelings that I can't explain, driving me insane. All my life I've had to wait. Now the king will take my bait, but I'm just Haman. Anywhere else I'm number 1. Is it my destiny to embody Persian fragility? Will they recognize my humanity? I'm just Haman. King thinks I'm around just for fun. What will it take for him to see the man beneath the hat and fight for me? But I'm just Haman.
Boo. If you can strip Mordecai of his security clearance, you can take over the Giant Gallows Project. When you make the kingdom the world's leading superpower, the king will have to respect you.
But Congress isn't accepting my claim that Mordecai is disloyal. I've got to do something more direct. I've got an idea. I'll challenge Mordecai to a cage fight and beat him senseless.
I don't think that's going to work out well for you. You know Mordecai has taken up jiu-jitsu to prepare for the fight. When the Persian News and Information Service asks him about it, all he said was, "Send me location."
Then I've got a better plan. I'll wait until the giant gallows is ready for its first test, and I'll make them hang Mordecai on his own gallows.
From inside the palace, Esther heard rumors of Haman's plan to bring Mordecai in the initial test of the giant gallows.
Esther, you've got to find a way to derail Haman's plans to hang me and then destroy the Jewish people. Do not think that you will be spared just because you know how to travel through the space-time continuum to the real world.
But no one is allowed to see the king without being summoned. And ever since Haman created the Mojo Dojo Casa Palace, I can't just walk in like I used to. There's nothing we can do if we can't meet with the king.
Queen Esther, Mordecai, have you heard the news? I guess not. Someone phoned in a swatting attack on the palace. The eunuchs are searching room by room, and everyone inside has been evacuated.
You mean everyone?
I didn't do it, I promise.
But we'd better go take advantage of it.
Esther and Mordecai ran down to the palace to find the king while he was being evacuated.
Esther, how lovely to see you out here. What can I do for you? Even if it be unto half the kingdom, it shall be done.
This is my request, to spare my life and the lives of my people, for we have been sold to be destroyed.
Sold to be destroyed? Who would do such a thing?
It is him, this wicked Haman.
Haman? My vizier? Haman? I have a question for you.
What is it, Your Majesty?
Is calling for genocide against the Jewish people a violation of the palace code of conduct? Yes or no?
Well, that depends upon the context.
Well, Haman's inability to condemn calls for the genocide of the Jews was forced to resign as vizier. He returned to the Harvard University faculty, where such things seemed normal, and Columbia East got him a position in the Department of Alchemite Studies. But later he was convicted of financial fraud for lying about the value of the Mojo Dojo Casa Palace when he was using it as collateral for some shady loans. Ahasuerus appointed Mordecai as the new vizier, and the giant gallows worked flawlessly when it was tested on the 10 sons of Haman. And Esther had, perhaps, the best outcome of all.
Esther, I have just one question for you. How did you manage to remain in your position as queen? We all thought you were missing one of the important qualifications.
When you enter the contest to be queen, you get prepared by the eunuchs for 12 months. The eunuchs can prepare you to be queen in ways you would never imagine.
What did they do?
Let's just put it this way. I'm here to see my gynecologist.
Thank you.
Thank you, players. Thank you, professional players.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. We put the adult in adult Purim spiel.
Come back Sunday morning, tomorrow. Shaka read at 9. We won't do this again. Once is enough. Shaka read at 9:20. Megillah reading at 10. The Purim lunch at 11:30.